Hi, and welcome to another video on object-oriented programming in C#. With me, Marinas Toman. Okay, so in this video we'll look at class properties. So properties, before we start, of course, we need to know what encapsulation is. So encapsulation is really to make sure that sensitive data is hidden from users. And to achieve this, there are a couple of things that we must do. So first, fields and variables must be declared as private, and then we need to provide public getter and setter methods through properties to access and update the value of a private field. Okay, so two things: fields and variables must be private, and then we can provide public getters and setters through properties to access the private field. Okay, so although we're creating it, we're making it, we're encapsulating it by making it private, but we're also, so that's by hiding the sensitive data, but we're also giving it a public way that they can get in and out through properties to access and update this private data. Okay, so I know that's probably a bit confusing, but we'll have a look at an example till we see. Hopefully it'll make a bit more sense. So private variables can only be accessed within the same class, as we know. However, sometimes we need to access them, and we can do this with properties. So this is something that we're going to just do by default all of the time, is just have we're going to make our fields private, okay, because we want the encapsulation to work for us. We want to achieve encapsulation. So a property is like a combination of a variable and a method. It has two methods, a get and a set method, or getters and setters, as you'll hear them sometimes called. So this is a simple class person that has a private field called name, and then it has a property. As you can see, this is different because it's got a capital letter. And what the property is that means that we can get access now through this property, through the public property, into this variable or this field name. So we can see, we can say get this, get the value that's in name, and that'll just return name. And you can see this is returning a string. Or we could set name. And what that's doing is that's setting the string, so that's just setting the value inside name. So this might be familiar, maybe if you've done classes or objects in Java before, but it's pretty much the same. What we do is we make our fields private, and then we create public getters and setters that we can use to pass data in and out of our private field. So the name property is associated with the name field. It's good practice to use the same name for both the property and the field, but with an uppercase first letter. So if you have, let's say you had a field called age, then you would have a property with capital A called age. The get method returns the value of the variable name, and the set method assigns a value to the variable. So when you're calling the set method, you need to pass, the string in. The value keyword represents the value we assign to the property. So if you don't fully understand it, take a look now at this example. So this is a concrete example now of we're creating an object or an instance of the class. So in this program, we create a new person, and then you can see if I do object.name with capital N, and then I output this. So what this line is doing is calling my set method in my property, and then what this line is doing is calling my get method. But what I'm really getting is what's inside the field, and that's what I'm really setting as well. Okay, but this is just a safer way to do it, so we achieve encapsulation by doing it this way. If you see, if we tried, let's say, to run that, Yeah, so it's inaccessible due to its protection level. You've got an error. And that's what we want, because we don't want the client code to have direct access to our fields, because then if we how can we encapsulate anything in them fields? We don't have any encapsulation there. Okay, so they're basically the two things that we want to do to achieve encapsulation, and we do this by through properties. And basically the properties will give us getters and setters, so this is what we can do. And you'll see as well that there's actually a shorthand for this, so we can get automatic properties because this is used so often. C# have basically a shorthand for this. So you can see if you just do get with semicolon and then set with semicolon, this is the exact same as this code here. Okay, so you're saving basically the body of the method. You don't have to include that because it already knows that this is a property, so I know that I need to get and set. So basically the only difference is that there's less code. So you can do it this way if you want to feel more comfortable while you're first learning how to do it. Your getters and setters, but there's also this option available if you just want to, you know what they're doing, it's just getting and setting, it's going to be doing the same every time. So after a while that gets boring and becomes laborious doing this every time, so that's why they come up with the shorthand for it. But both are the exact same and they both work. So finally, why do we use encapsulation? What's the point of doing, going to all of this hassle to hide our data? Well, first of all, it's better control of class members, so it reduces the possibility of yourself or others messing up the code. Fields can be made read-only, so let's say if we wanted to just somebody just to be able to read our data, then we would just give them a get method. Okay, they wouldn't have any set method, they wouldn't be able to write anything. Or the opposite, we could have a write only, we could provide just the set method and no get method, so they wouldn't be able to read from it. The flexibility, the programmer could change one part of the code without affecting other parts. Again, that's always good, and that's what you'll see why we have our code split up into modules, and we keep our code very modular, is because again of this here, because we can change one part of the code without affecting other parts. And then of course the main reason, and especially nowadays with an increased number of security breaches, we need a way to increase the security of our data. And that in a nutshell is why we use encapsulation, and why you're going to need to learn how to encapsulate all of your class members. So mainly the fields is really what we want to encapsulate, because that's what holds our data. The methods are just doing some job, but the fields are what are storing the data. Okay, so that's everything for the video. Thanks for watching.